Hi, welcome to my channel. Before mandates, experts and government officials in the U.S. gave reasons why people who've already had COVID should be vaccinated. I'm not opposed for people who want to get vaccinated to get them, but let's look at some of the reasons why they gave. Number one, we don't know how long natural immunity lasts. Well, that's true, but is that a good reason? It may be if you want to avoid getting COVID at all costs, but my immediate response is true, largely because many researchers have excluded them from their studies. But I also say, well, they don't know how long immunity from vaccination lasts either. What we were told 6 or 9 months ago is different from what we think today. Also, the CDC quotes the very limited Kentucky study that suggests that people who were vaccinated were much better protected than those with previous infections. They are still ignoring the study from Israel from a much larger and better data that indicates that natural immunity is superior, possibly 13 times greater than vaccine immunity. Number 2, not everyone has an equal immune response to COVID. Well, there are pretty good studies indicating that generally, mild or asymptomatic COVID cases have generated lower antibody levels than moderate to severe cases, and I will accept that. But we have been told for the past year that we should not count on antibody levels because we don't know how to use those numbers. So which is it? We already know that antibody levels are not the only factor that affects the immune response, and some who are immunocompromised don't generate a good immune response to either vaccine or illness. Number 3, to protect people at high risk. Well, that was a better argument earlier this year when vaccines had limited availability. But now, most high-risk individuals in the U.S. are already immunized, and many have had a booster also. But if you're really concerned about high-risk individuals, why aren't you trying to get vaccines to countries worldwide that have gotten few vaccines for anyone, high risk or otherwise? Number 4, to achieve herd immunity. Well, that's another of those we're just guessing points. Again, if you look back a year, you will find that experts were saying that based on infectivity of COVID, the original strain, around 70% vaccinated or immune would be needed to achieve herd immunity. But now, with the Delta variant, which is much more dangerous, many of the same experts are saying we may need 90% vaccinated. The obvious fact is, as smart as some of these people are, they don't know. It could be, as some think, that COVID won't go away, that it'll become endemic, which means it stays in the community. And for the United States specifically, where we have a policy of essentially open borders, we can't have herd immunity if the rest of the world doesn't have it. So vaccinating and boosting people who may or may not need vaccination provides little benefit instead of focusing on wider distribution. Number 5, people who get vaccinated after COVID have much higher immunity. Okay, I accept that. But this is another one that I need to answer with a question. How much immunity is necessary? They don't know. How much longer will immunity from an extra booster or vaccination last? They don't know. How would the immunity gained from getting a booster differ or be better than getting re-exposed and having a mild or asymptomatic COVID breakthrough infection? I've not seen any data on that. Number 6, it is too much trouble to test for previous infection. Well, that isn't a reason that you will see listed on the CDC or WHO websites. But that was one of the reasons the policymakers used when they decided to just go ahead and get the jab. There's been simple antibody tests available since the spring of last year. It would have been extremely simple and inexpensive to do a finger stick and check for evidence of antibodies to COVID. But the decision was made not to do that. Was there some economic reason for that, or just convenience? Number 7, once fully vaccinated, you can start doing more. Well, we all know how that turned out. For my friends in the U.S., I would like to give you some interesting information. When people think about long-term immunity, they often think about chickenpox, After Merck introduced the first chickenpox vaccine, Varivax, in 1995, every state in the Union made it one of the required childhood vaccinations within about 10 years. While many Western countries followed suit, some didn't, including the United Kingdom. Why is that? Well, according to the National Health Service in the UK, the answer is this. Quote, "There's a worry that introducing chickenpox vaccination for all children could increase the risk of chickenpox and shingles in adults. While chickenpox during childhood is unpleasant, the vast majority of children recover quickly and easily. In adults, chickenpox is more severe and the risk of complications increases with age. If a childhood chickenpox vaccination program was introduced, people would not catch chickenpox as children because the infection would no longer circulate in areas where the majority of children had been vaccinated. This would leave unvaccinated children susceptible to contracting chickenpox as adults, when they're more likely to develop a severe infection or a secondary complication, or in pregnancy, when there's a risk of the infection harming the baby. We could also see a significant increase in cases of shingles in adults." Well, in the U.S. we don't have to worry about shingles, right? Since Merck was able to repurpose Varivax to receive a FDA approval for shingles prevention in adults under a different name and dose of the same live viral vaccine. Does childhood vaccination lead to a problem in adults that the provider of the original jab seeks to prevent? The UK NHS seems to think that. Does this bear resemblance to what we have in COVID? I would like to hear your thoughts on that. What about those of you in the UK? As always, thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing. Have a great day, and be well.